G'day guys, welcome on board. So I want to talk about this record, this 11-year-old record. Round 22, Saints v GWS in 2012. Hardly a record to get particularly excited about. Lenny Hayes on the front, champion player. And the Saints smoked the Giants. It was the Giants' first year in the competition. But why am I talking about this particular record? I've got thousands of footy records which I've collected over the years. But as you can see, this one's got some signatures on it, some very important signatures. What I want to talk about, how I got this record in my hands in a situation associated with this round 22, 2012 record. St Kilda versus the Giants. Let me put some of this into context first. In 2005, I started working in the football media with K-Rock, which is a radio station in Geelong. They used to call, well, they still do, they call Geelong games, but when I was working with them, they used to call 3 games a week end. I started working for them with their broadcast as a statistician, interviewing players before games, assistant coaches, going into the rooms, all that type of stuff. I did that for 16 years, and in that time, I was obsessive about collecting records. Absolutely obsessed about collecting football records. I collect them every week, and I kept them in pristine order. Well, I tried to anyway. In those 16 years, I would have interviewed at least 150, 200 players, probably 100 assistant coaches, general managers, football managers, CEOs. I interviewed a lot. I also interviewed senior coaches as well. And in 2012, which was 7 years into my 16-year tenure at K-Rock Football, I got the chance to interview the great Kevin Sheedy, who was coach of the GWS Giants this day. So this is where it all happened. Okay, yesterday, all right, end of the footy season, I got to do jobs around the house. To be perfectly honest, I'd forgotten somewhat about these footy records, although I continue to collect them, particularly the grand final records. I had to do a few jobs around the house. I mowed the lawn, and then the lovely, she wanted me to clean the shed. So I thought, fuck, I've got to clean the shed, which is an absolute prick of a job. And then I uncovered my collection of records, which have been sitting in the shed now for such a long time. They're all covered up. I'm keeping them nice and clean. I'm keeping them in pretty good order. And I decided to just bring them out and do a little bit of reminiscing. Absolutely gobsmacked the amount of football records that I collected in that 16-year period. And to try and sift through them yesterday, it was never going to happen. But the first box that I opened, and I just wanted to have a look at a few of the records, see whether they were still in reasonable condition, which they were. I found this one, which I had kind of forgotten about. But it all came back that day in 2012 in my encounter with Kevin Sheedy and then 2 people on the way back to the commentary box. Okay, so my job was to go down about 45, 50 minutes before the game. The game started at 1:45 to interview Kevin Sheedy on the boundary. I was actually pretty nervous. First time I got to interview a senior coach, and never really had any interaction with Kevin Sheedy before. But on the way down, I had a few questions organised. Everything went quite well. I interviewed him. He was a little bit strange, as he always is, but he was great. Very, very engaging man. And I took this record down because I didn't want to waste an opportunity to at least get Kevin Sheedy, the great Kevin Sheedy, to sign this record, which he did. Okay, so I interviewed Kevin Sheedy, and on my way back to the commentary box, it was still around about 40 minutes to go before the start of the game, and it was GWS and St Kilda at Marvel, round 22. There was hardly anyone there. No one there. It was a very, very poor crowd. In fact, I've looked back on the records. I think 17,000 turned up in the end. Anyway, I'm going back to the commentary box. I'm on the bottom deck on ground level. I've got to get up, okay, to level 2, whatever it is, the commentary area there at Marvel Stadium. Okay, so I make my way back with my 2 headsets, microphone, and little receiver, and I rush to the elevator because the elevators at Marvel Stadium are absolutely pricks. If you miss one, okay, you could be standing there for a good 5 minutes. That's how slow they are. It was a 1:45 start, and before the St Kilda and Giants game, St Kilda, it was their home game, obviously. They had one of those sort of corporate sort of scratch matches on the ground where, you know, some former champions of the St Kilda Football Club are entertaining and having sponsors and stuff play a game on the ground. And actually, Aaron Hamill was playing, I remember that, and he was on one team, and Shane Warne was on the other team, playing in the forward pocket, full forward. And he was actually quite a good footballer as a youngster, the great Shane Warne. And he actually, from memory, I was watching the game from the commentary box. This game was well and truly over by the time I went down and interviewed Kevin Sheedy. I think he kicked about 5 or 6 goals in this match, Shane Warne. Okay, just as the elevator doors were just about to close, I put my foot, okay, in the elevator door to stop it closing, and it opened up and I jumped in. Okay, when I jumped in, okay, it quickly closed and there were 2 other people in the elevator with me. I slightly turned to the left and I noticed Shane Warne. And I also noticed Elizabeth Hurley, his partner at the time. It was one of the most awkward situations possible because the pair of them had been down in the basement. They didn't go outside. And it was clear to me by the smell of them that they'd had a Winfield Blue. They absolutely reeked of cigarette smoke. The 2 were obviously going back up to level 2, wherever it was, the corporate area, which is where the media box is as well. And it was fair to say a sort of like, as I mentioned, an awkward 50-second sort of ride up by the time it got going and then stopped and no one got on. It was just us 3. And I just had to break the ice. I was trying to act really cool, like like you see Shane Warne and Liz Hurley every day, like in an elevator. I was trying to keep, and I just couldn't help myself. I turned to Shane and I said, "Gee, it looked like you enjoyed that out there today, mate." And he said, "Yeah, it was lots of fun." Those were his exact words. It was lots of fun. But I couldn't really, as I was talking to Shane, I couldn't really keep my eyes off Elizabeth. Anyway, I had to ask the question. When we got out on level 2 at the corporate area, I just said, "Would you 2 mind signing my record?" And they did. So this record, as I said, is very special. I don't know whether it would be worth anything. Probably not, to be perfectly honest. But there is Elizabeth Hurley's very, very unique signature autograph, and Warnie's along the side here, and there's Kevin Sheedy. The funny thing was, I obviously had a texter already in my hand, and Liz Hurley signed it first, and then she handed it to Warnie, and then Warnie signed it and gave the record back to me, and I said, "Thanks very much, mate." And he said, "No worries, Heath." When he said, "No worries, Heath," my heart just skipped. It skipped. And they walked off and I went to the media area, to our radio box, and he knew my name. The great Shane Warne knew my name. And I'm going, "What? How does he know my name?" That is incredible. I said, "Thanks, mate." And he said, "No worries, Heath." Anyway, I get back to the commentary box and they were in an ad break, and I told them about my encounter with Liz Hurley and Shane Watson, and they were very, very excited for me. And it was, and then I told them, And he said, when I got the record and the text it back off Warnie, and I said, thanks, mate. And he said, no worries, Heath. I said, he knew my name. And one of the guys said, hey, mate, you got your fucking media pass on, it's got your name on it. Anyway, it's an absolute beauty. It's an absolute beauty. I'll treasure that. I will go through my collection because I've got a lot of other records that have been signed in unique situations. If you like these videos, please give a thumbs up and a like, subscription, whatever that may be. Speak soon.